Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Top Man Wrestling podcast, which has returned after such a long hiatus. And I have a couple of big reasons for that. One, I've moved, as you might be able to tell by the background. And two, WWE programming has not been interesting in the last 6 months at all. Now, I think instead I would like to focus on ways that I would improve WWE programming or provide my commentary on it, but as a whole rather than on individual shows, because I can't remember the last time I've been able to sit through an entire episode of Raw or SmackDown without really turning it off. I haven't watched a full episode in months, hence why I haven't been uploading. There has been no motivation for me to do so. But the one time of year which makes me love to be a wrestling fan is this month of January. The Tokyo Dome shows, 3rd and 4th are class, and my favourite show of the year, the Royal Rumble, is soon upon us, which means I'm going to give not necessarily my predictions, but I'm going to book the Royal Rumble, if you will. Now, I think I'll start with the men's because it's the one that first came to mind. The Women's Royal Rumble is still fairly new. Rusev is my first pick to win the Royal Rumble because in my head I have it booked perfectly where the final two are Rusev and Bob Lashley, and Rusev eliminates him, and then what we could see is Rusev on his hunt for the title, a little bit maniacal, but still everybody loves him. As we've seen over the last few weeks on Raw, he's kind of developed a bit of a weird edge to him, but people are really loving him. And then what we could also see with that is Bobby Lashley teaming up with Brock Lesnar rather than going up against him. People have been clamouring for that a while, ever since Bobby Lashley had that great run with America's Top Team. I think they were called in Impact. I don't really watch Impact, but that's what they were called. And it was fairly enjoyable. I watched a few highlights of that, and people really want Brock to fight Lashley. Instead, I would team them up, have them going up against Rusev. As you can see, I've got his merch represented here. And I think that'd be really interesting. Rusev has done some brilliant work over the last couple of years. He really deserves a title run, I believe. And it would help elevate him to that top level. Once he's got one title run, there's no reason why he can't go on and be the most successful guy over the next decade, really, because he's, 32? I would say, 32, 33. He's still got a while in him. There's no reason why Rusev can't lead the company. He's good looking, he's pretty solid in the ring, he's a great promo, and the crowd love him. I'm just checking how old Rusev is. Rusev is 34, so he can go for another 10 years, no problem, to be the face of the 2020s. And what a way to kickstart that than by winning the 2020 Royal Rumble and beating Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Number 2, for the same reason, I think Drew McIntyre. WWE isn't too keen on their heels versus heels, but people want to see Drew win. So, people want to see Drew with the title. Everybody knows that Drew is brilliant. So, it would be no real difficulty to make Drew a lovable babyface for the next few months after winning the Royal Rumble. People, get people behind him, but not make him pander to the crowd, none of that. Just make him hard, strong, and after Brock Lesnar, and people get behind him, no problem. And then the main reason I have that is everybody knows that Vince likes him. He was the chosen one. We all like him. Fans love him. Just because he's really good in the ring. He's solid on the mic. He's tall. He's jacked. Why not? And what it does is it brings that title back into contention. Because if somebody like Drew picks up the title, it's no stretch to see Drew and Kevin Owens, and then you can go back into Drew and Seth. Back into Owens and Seth from that. It gives a much cleaner line to that title for a lot of guys. And it makes sense in my head that Drew McIntyre finally picks up a title, because a couple of tag titles aren't going to cut it. Did he win the Intercontinental title from Dolph? I'm not so sure. I don't think he did, actually. He needs to be legitimised, realistically, and it makes a lot of sense for Drew McIntyre to win the 2020 Royal Rumble. My third one is from NXT, and that's Keith Lee. People love Keith Lee. I personally don't really see it. I know that people love him. I've seen in the Invasion angle before Survivor Series, everybody got behind Keith Lee. Especially, and the Survivor Series, a star-making performance, let's be honest. He came second, he lost to Roman, but He looked brilliant. I don't get it, but if they want to establish him as the top star, the guy to finally dethrone Adam Cole, Keith Lee winning the Royal Rumble and then going for Adam Cole would be huge for him, obviously, and it'd be huge for NXT. They put NXT over in Survivor Series massively, and what way to further cement NXT status as an equal third brand than by having an NXT guy win the Royal Rumble and declare to fight for the NXT title at WrestleMania. Have maybe two WrestleMania matches that are NXT, but have them both be for the titles, men's and women's title, and let it be Keith Lee and let it be Adam Cole. I can see that happening. I think that's very good. For SmackDown, see, this is where I have a lot of problems. I can't see anybody on that SmackDown roster who's at the level of The Fiend, except from Roman Reigns, and I don't want Roman Reigns to win the Rumble. Not because he doesn't deserve it, he does. His fight over the last year and a half has been amazing. Everybody's gone behind him, but I don't want The Fiend to be brought down by somebody who doesn't need to bring down The Fiend. Roman Reigns has beaten The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns has beaten countless superstars for the title. He's the face of the company. He doesn't need the win over The Fiend. People who do need the win over The Fiend are The Miz, Daniel Bryan. Seth Rollins isn't there, Finn Balor isn't there. But those are the two on SmackDown. But I don't see either of them winning the title at Mania. I don't see either of them winning the Rumble. Bryan's got a title match, and I can see Miz costing him that title match out of his blind rage. And then we get into those two for Mania. We didn't see a finish. We didn't see a fulfilling end to that, did we? I believe it was at SummerSlam last year when Miz won via dirty finish, and I want to see a better finish to that. It's been such a great story, and this has just added another chapter to it. But what that does is it removes two of the viable contenders for Bray Wyatt's title. And there isn't anybody who could take that spot. Right now, it looks like Braun and Shinsuke are going at it. Otherwise, I was suggested Braun Strowman winning the Rumble, and then we can go back into The Fiend or real Bray Wyatt and have the Braun. Braun was one of his... What's the correct word? I wouldn't want to say fireflies, but one of his henchmen, if you will. And I think that could be a really compelling story. But with Braun firmly placed in the Intercontinental title scene, which does wonders for that belt, by the way, there's no real contender. So, I have as my pick... Who do I have as my pick? Oh dear. Big E. The New Day and the Wyatt family have some story. They were feuding back in 2016. We never really got a finale to that because of the brand extension draft, I believe, right? Yeah, it was 2016. And they had their own final deletion type. And then we saw Xavier Woods and Bray Wyatt get into it at the 2017 Rumble, which was won by Wyatt families at the time, Randy Orton. It makes sense in my head to make Big E the face of WWE's SmackDown brand. He's fairly young, but on top of that, he matches their minority thing. They're big on that, pushing those boundaries now, which I think is a great thing. He's fantastic in the ring. He's got all the charisma in the world. People love him. It just makes sense. And Big E has been really heavily pushed on the BT Sport advertising. For in the UK, WWE has now moved from Sky Sports to BT Sport, and Big E has been the focus. Big E and Kevin Owens have been the focus of BT Sport getting WWE, and Kevin Owens is on Raw. So it makes sense that they have something in the works for Big E, for him to have been put into that spot. And I think to have two of the three members of New Day win a title at WrestleMania in consecutive years, it really adds to that storyline. And if you want to break up the New Day, I don't want to see that happen, but if you want to break up the New Day, that's how you do it. You have those two win titles, they're happy for each other, and then Xavier Woods, at some point, he comes back. Maybe it might even be SummerSlam next year, or SummerSlam this year, or after that, I don't know. But he comes back, and then you can make it a jealousy storyline, or you let Woods then get his shot, and you've built all of a sudden this tag team, this the greatest tag team in WWE in modern day. In some people's opinions, I still believe it's the Usos. You have then built that tag team into all three of them main eventing, or at least most of them main event stars. Now, the more I speak about it, the more I would like to see Big E win the Royal Rumble, but I have Rusev as my pick for now. At least we'll see what the next few weeks of WWE TV suggest. I know that Brock has entered the Rumble, which I think is brilliant. Part of me wants to see him win it, because then they could do a G1 type situation where if the champion wins the G1, they get to pick their opponent, and then you could have whoever you want. You could have Lesnar pick whoever he wants. He could go for Kane, Velasquez. I'm talking about, or the Big Red Machine Kane. I'd rather see that one. I think that'd be quite interesting. Him entering number one, I think that should be. The champion entering number one in the Rumble, one of the champions, I think should be a thing every single year. Make it be like the G1, and it just adds a layer of complexity. And then you could also go with, in the pay-per-views leading up to WrestleMania, you could have the person who eliminates the champion get a title match. It just makes sense, and it's simple booking. It justifies title matches from now until WrestleMania. I would like to see that happen. Of course, WWE normally don't try to make things interesting, and I would probably end up getting Cain Velasquez eliminating Brock Lesnar, which I don't think anybody wants. Or what it could do is it could allow somebody from SmackDown to win and to challenge The Fiend, or somebody from NXT to win and challenge Adam Cole. But it also sets up another title match from WrestleMania, instead of in between, as I was just saying, where you could have, say, Drew or Rusev eliminate Brock Lesnar. Then you could justify that match even going to Mania instead of the pay-per-view in between. It's such a great ship to develop your storyline. It's such a great way to do that. I think this should be a yearly thing where one of the champions, both on the male and the female rosters. So, for example, you could have, for this year, the champion of Raw, the WWE champion, is in the men's rumble, so therefore the SmackDown Women's Champion, Bayley, should be in the women's rumble. It makes sense, in my opinion. But I've rambled on a bit there. Let's talk about the women's rumble. Now, this one, I have not got a clue. On Raw, at least, the division is just not there. You have Becky, you have Charlotte, you have Asuka, and there's nobody else. I'm struggling to name somebody else, except from Liv Morgan, because she was in the wedding angle last week. And that's not a good thing, especially in comparison to SmackDown, where anybody on that SmackDown roster, on the SmackDown women's roster I'm talking about, could justifiably be put into the main event at a moment's notice. Nikki Cross has been in the main event scene over the last few months. She had a few title matches in 2019, or a title match in 2019. She's been a tag team champion. She's picked up important wins. She could do it. Carmella's already won the title. She's been kept fairly high up in the card. She hasn't really lost too much. She's always one or two quick wins away from the title scene. She could win the Rumble, and I wouldn't bat an eyelid. Dana Brooke has been built up superbly, and it's a shame that it took her supposedly or allegedly dating Batista for that to happen, because I've been saying since she was teaming with Charlotte that she's very athletic. She's quite solid in the ring. She was brought up far too early, but she developed very quickly, and everybody can see that she's really coming along nicely in terms of her ring work. And she beat Sasha Banks on SmackDown last week or the week before. I could see her doing fairly well in the Rumble. I can't see her winning it. Alexa Bliss, maybe. Alexa Bliss going Bayley, heel Bayley, face Alexa Bliss. We saw something similar in 2017, I believe, where Alexa was the heel and we had that weird kendo stick on a pole match and all of that weird stuff. maybe a return from Ronda Rousey is likely, or a big return. Makes sense. Or you could get Shayna Baszler, who has now been taken out of the NXT title. She's no longer the NXT Women's Champion. And if NXT is an equal third brand, what you could do is, for example, like Asuka got to declare who she wanted at WrestleMania and she chose Charlotte. You could have Shayna win and choose Becky, and then you could add somebody, a huge heel to that Raw roster, justify Shayna moving to Raw. I think that's the best case scenario, actually, now that I think about it. But I don't know, the Women's Rumble's a fairly interesting one. I can't see anybody from Raw even coming close to winning it. There's no one there who's been built up enough who isn't already the champion, or Charlotte, and Charlotte should not win. Because I don't want to see Charlotte Becky again. I don't want to see it. And from judging by social media, judging by Twitter, nobody else really wants to see that either. SmackDown, anybody could win it, but none of them are, I think, ready. Maybe Lacey Evans is a decent shout. She's been feuding with Bayley and Sasha Banks already. But I don't think the crowd are fully ready to accept Lacey Evans as a babyface. Shayna Baszler seems to be the best shout. That's how I would book the Royal Rumbles, both of them, and that's how I would book the pay-per-view for the matches I know. I would think, for the Intercontinental title, we'll quickly get into the other matches then. The Fiend, as I said earlier, would retain, but not necessarily by his own doing, or he could manipulate The Miz into interfering, or he might have already manipulated The Miz into interfering, and then you could figure that out in some weird way. Anyway, anytime The Fiend Bray Wyatt is involved, I have faith in it, because I don't think they bungle it at all yet. Even that Hell in a Cell match, I think they did something very smart. The Intercontinental title, Shinsuke and Braun. This one I'm a little bit confused about, because I wouldn't mind seeing Braun pick up the title. But also, I think it might be too soon, and I don't want to see Shinsuke lose that title. Maybe take it to WrestleMania. Have more involvement from Sami Zayn, from Cesaro, from... Who else has been allied with Shinsuke? No, Rusev's not with Shinsuke anymore. I don't know, have some kind of thing there, and then you can go in between for a face from SmackDown mid-card. You could have Shinsuke versus Gable, Shinsuke versus... Never mind. I've got it. See, this is why I should write down notes beforehand. I've just came up with... Braun wins the Intercontinental title at the Rumble. Face Braun. Heel Sheamus. Braun wins at WrestleMania. Makes him look even more of a star, elevates that title even further, having beaten a former world champion, multiple-time world champion, Royal Rumble winner, Sheamus. I think that makes sense, now that I'm really digging into it. I would like to see that happen, but at the same time, anytime you get Shinsuke Nakamura with the belt on TV, I want that. I want Shinsuke to retain, but I think that makes a lot of sense, what I just said with Sheamus getting involved after a Braun win. None of the other matches have really been confirmed. I think we could see Lacey v Bayley at the Rumble, or we could get Lacey and Charlotte, or just a weird kind of handicap match, perhaps. And Becky v Asuka looks likely. I would like to see Asuka win that title from Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch has held it a little bit too long for my liking. I think a strong babyface like she is, or a strong fan favourite is best chasing the belt instead of holding it. And she's the longest reigning Raw Women's Champion now. It's been 9 months. It's too long. She's getting a bit stale. Her losing that belt to Asuka and then fighting for it again at WrestleMania, I think makes a lot of sense. Or you could bring in Ronda Rousey. It doesn't matter. Or make it I don't want it to be a triple threat match. I don't want it to be a triple threat match. I think Asuka Becky, take it to Mania, the rematch at Mania. I mean, have Becky win again, maybe. Asuka wins at the Rumble, and with about 20 minutes on the clock. That's how I would book the Royal Rumble. Join me again sometime soon for me to predict the Royal Rumble when it actually comes up to Rumble weekend. And something that I really want to do is my awards, my wrestling awards for the year 2019. I was supposed to do it in December. I didn't have time, and I've been compiling my lists. So if I get time over the next week or so, you might see that video of me giving my awards for the best this, the best that, the best whatever of wrestling in 2019. Thank you so much for watching the Top Man Wrestling Podcast. Check out the Twitter in description. Make sure you subscribe, like, or let me know what you want to watch next. Thank you.